Seems like deciding whether to stay in or leave a relationship can sometimes be a protracted decision, which might be surprising given that we have this short time on earth and we don't want to waste it. I think a lot of people have problems breaking up with someone, even though they might not make them particularly very happy.
Yeah.
Why do people get stuck in unhappy relationships in that way?
There are, I think the mood of the modern world, the mood of modern Instagram, I've observed, is all about, well, ditch them, chuck them, run away. It's a pure pathology. You are sticking around someone suboptimal for purely pathological reasons. That's got to be true in some cases. It is definitely true in some cases. But because it's so well known nowadays that that's true, let's stick up for the other side. Sometimes it's hard. Sometimes we stick around very challenging situations because we want to try and grow together. We want to try and make progress. And sometimes we can, sometimes we can't. So, it's a balance. I don't want to advocate, an endlessly unfulfilling relationship, but good relationships will be marked by a heavy dose of what psychotherapists call rupture and repair, a break and a repair. And the ability to, the thing crashes at night, but the next morning it's fixed. Our friends in the East, the Japanese tradition of kintsugi, fixing that bowl with golden lacquer, fixing the break. It's a very, very important and satisfying part of all relationships.
Yeah. What about the people who are in a relationship but don't have the courage to leave? They probably have this, they feel stuck, sort of stuck in this unsatisfactory, not abusive, not terrible, but just they have that fear, pulling the pin, making that move.
You talked about primary, secondary emotions. Let's not shame these people, right? Let's not add to their woes that they are deficient and ill in some way. They're finding something very hard, and that's okay. Let's bear with how difficult it is. Again, I'm frustrated by the modern tempo, which is like, get out, shoot the awful person, and join the liberated uplands. Maybe, and maybe that is what they're going to do. But, let's be very thoughtful about why they've ended up there. Let's not, this might just be, they might find 100 things in life quite easy. This is what they're finding difficult. And let's acknowledge that. Let's be very kind to that. And let's hold their hands through it. Why? What's difficult for them? Is it that they think that they'll be judged by other people, right? What's the fear? I'll be judged by the people. Okay, good. How does that fear stack up with what might really happen? Or I'll never meet anyone new. Okay, let's think about that. Let's not immediately say, oh, you will. Well, maybe they won't. Let's take it calmly, etc. I'm really resistant to some of this narrative, which is, get out, get rid of the awful, underperforming people, and get into that golden relationship that's been promised to you in heaven. It's not, that may be the direction of travel, but let's just acknowledge the bumps.
Yeah, I think it's unrealistic. There's a lot of people who just don't want to make a fuss. That there's this sort of fear, this question, is it fair to want what I want? You mentioned before, how do people that from the outside, you go, why her with him? Why him with her? Why would that union happen? And we don't get to choose what we love in many ways.
Absolutely not. We are, we think we've done away with the arranged marriage. No, we haven't. It's just become an emotionally arranged marriage, internally arranged rather than arranged by our parents.
Yeah, I think, again, for the cerebrally predisposed, you kind of rail against that. Why can't I? If only I could. Can you not get in line with you? Yeah. Please. All of the things, they're there in front of me. They have the...
and we get literally irritated. And just to be able to understand, it's like saying, why can't Mount Everest be smaller? Why can't the sky be less blue? Whatever. We're trying to change a constituent element of reality.
Yes.
And I think we need to have as much respect for the inner architecture as we do for the outer architecture. You wouldn't look at a building and go, I just want to get rid of that wing immediately. You'd understand that it was incredibly difficult. It's the same thing. Just because it's intangible doesn't mean it's not incredibly stubborn and hard. It's hard to change.
Do we need to create the capacity to give up on people in that way? Does that help?
Yes, I think some of us do. Again, life's all about finding what's the lesson that you need to hear. So there are some people, not everyone, but some people really need to hear a little lesson about how sometimes they should give up on people, that sometimes making excuses for people or trying to understand where people are coming from, etc., it can go too far. That those very nice traits can go too far, and that the next best thing that you need to do is to be able to say goodbye without too much regret. That might be the lesson that you need to do. And let's remember, the people who, on the whole, find it very hard to give up on people are people who couldn't give up, as children can't, on parents who are very unsatisfactory. You can't expect a 5-year-old child to give up on a parent. So a parent can be beating the child every night, and the child will think, oh, maybe it's my fault, because the child cannot bear to give up on the parent and do the thing that would be natural to do, which is to say, I'm in the hands of an abusive parent. You can't do that when you're 5. You've got no access to lawyers, you've got no money, you can't go anywhere. You are trapped. And therefore you become a world expert in not giving up on people. But some of what adulthood requires is precisely the opposite, sometimes.